Okay, so let's wait a bit and see
Yes.
coming in. Hi, folks who are already here or just entering. We're just waiting a couple of minutes since people were a little confused about when this is going to start. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm so glad you were able to get here. And if you're just coming in now and are totally confused, you are in concurrent session 2. And this is, yes, room C, faculty mentoring as a strategy for supporting remote online teaching and learning. And today I'm Susan Coe. I'm in the Office of Online Education. Natasha Nurse Clark, who's an assistant professor in nursing, is going to be joining me and presenting. And Olena Zhadko, who is our fearless director of Office of Online Education, is standing by for all snafus, problems, assuage all cares and worries and discussion. Okay, so we all know there was a big demand suddenly for faculty support when, because of the pandemic, everybody had to move to remote learning or who weren't already in online. So we had in the Office of Online Education at Lehman, we already had established online programs before COVID. And most of these, by the way, were asynchronous online, or they were hybrid. But suddenly we had to serve all faculty, not only the faculty who had been teaching in these established online courses and programs. So besides group trainings, we ran a lot of different kinds of group, sessions, Q&As, trainings, but we also knew that we needed to provide one-on-one support. We were getting, frantic emails. We also knew we already had a cadre of faculty, a whole group of faculty who were very experienced with online teaching, as well as in-person instruction. So we had a whole ready-made group of experts who could come in and help us. So we piloted this faculty mentoring program in spring 2020. We were recruiting faculty from all the schools and our LEH courses. And we started in the spring, and we continued with this program. So the basic idea of this, because there are many different kinds of faculty mentoring programs. There's someone else who wants to be admitted to the waiting. Okay, great. Some of you may know there are different types of programs. So our program is based on a kind of peer program. But peer programs can be one-on-one. They can be a network where you're mentoring a whole group of faculty. But the idea of a peer is that it's a faculty member who is more experienced than you are, but is not your supervisor. And that's really, really important because we have always found that faculty are reluctant to admit or say that they're having a problem with an online, class. They don't want people to think that they're inept or, can't figure it out. So they're more reluctant to go to a supervisor. And in terms of formal versus informal, you can have some structure, you can have no structure. Our program is what I would call a structured program, although it's not a very formal structured program. For example, when I was with CUNY SPS, we had a program I started there that was a one-on-one program. So you were matched to somebody for the whole semester. So our faculty mentor program and the duties, first of all, we made it school-based, kind of discipline-based, one-to-many peers. So this was really because many questions that we got were specific to a particular discipline or school, the things that were coming in. Plus, it was reassuring to people to have somebody from their own discipline because they were asking questions they may not have had any experience with online. So they were very reluctant to ask a general question as opposed to one that they thought was going to pertain to their teaching. and their discipline. The structure, we have the faculty mentors serving, providing regular communications, announcements. Many of them work through their departments to either send messages to all the faculty or to become part of regular announcements that are sent to all faculty in that school or department. And we also ask them to have regularly scheduled drop-in sessions. So on Zoom, where people would know that they could just drop in and ask a question. And many of the faculty mentors made some of those drop-in sessions on Zoom topical. So they would have something on a particular topic that they knew they were getting a lot of maybe questions about, like how to use Blackboard Collaborate, or how to use quizzing in Blackboard. So our faculty mentors serve as a kind of point person. They're a resource, they're a point person, they're a support person, but we don't want them to feel that they have to carry that whole burden. So we try to work with them to make referrals to our Office of Online Education or to IT as the case requires. So there could be a problem that really needs to go to IT because somebody's, their students all, they can't access X. And so that's something that we would say, hey, you better, just refer them to IT for that. For something perhaps that's more involved or longer term, we might have them refer the person to the Office of Online Ed. The faculty mentors are assisting faculty with Blackboard, with other technology tools, with teaching and course development issues. So really covering the whole gamut of pedagogical and technology related problems. Also, we are in the Office of Online Education, we're really so happy to have them help us identify the needs of faculty as those faculty needs pertain maybe to a particular discipline or a department, as well as general. So you can see something about how much those faculty mentors helped us get through this period. Look at the numbers here. So these are the interactions, and I'm defining that, could have been an email interaction, it could have been, so it's an exchange between a faculty member and a mentor. And because we have the faculty members keep a log of their interactions, we had some idea roughly of how many of these there were. So if you look at the total from March to December, because the program didn't start until March of 2020, there were almost 600 interactions. And some of these interactions were not just answering one question. Some of these were more extended. At the same time, we were inundated anyway. We had 555 that we recorded in terms of email and consultations. So this had nothing to do with our group training sessions. I mean, we put through our essentials training, which was a 75-minute training, we put almost 300 faculty through that. So you can see what an amazing role that these faculty mentors played for us. So now I'm going to turn it over to Natasha to get more detailed about her experience as a mentor.
Thanks so much, Susan. I was really excited to be a part of this project. I think it was something that was so important and needed for faculty, especially when it began in March, because everyone was just very frantic, not knowing what to do, how to move forward, how do I put my course on online. So it helped because faculty were able to reach out to the Office of Online Education, but also to colleagues who could help them as well. So it was really an honor to be asked to join this program. One of the things that we started out doing was this idea of office hours. People can just come in and ask questions. But we found that very similar to regular office hours with students, not too many people showed up. And it wasn't because they didn't have questions. I think it was people weren't sure what to ask, even though they had questions. Maybe they weren't sure that this fit into the realm of what we could help them with. And again, it was brand new. So what we started doing, like Susan mentioned earlier, was these these themed office hours where we had a topic. So kind of people, it gave them an excuse to come by, and it also kind of minimized what Susan mentioned earlier. Maybe people wouldn't feel comfortable asking questions. If we pick a topic and we discuss this topic and people can come and listen in, and it also helped because more questions came up. So as you're talking about something, somebody says, oh, I've had that problem before. Oh, what happens when I do this? And it helps them to open up. Those themed office hours helped to build connection with faculty and help them to feel more comfortable, so that then they started asking for more one-on-one meetings where they could ask more detailed questions, and where they can share their screen and you can walk them through some of the things that they wanted to do. So if this is something that others are thinking about doing, this idea of having themed office hours worked really, really well for me in my experience. Another thing that was really helpful over the term of the 4 semesters was the School of Health, Health Sciences and Human Services and Nursing had a Blackboard organization site for all the faculty within the college or within the school. And it really served as a great repository for us to be able to house videos. For the office hours, they were recorded, so we can store them as videos on the Blackboard site, so faculty can get to it anytime that they needed to, because maybe this issue didn't come up for them yet, but at least they can go back to it and they can refer to it when they needed that information. It also really helped with communication, because you can send emails out through this Blackboard site. You can also even open up a discussion board area if people wanted to continually have conversations that way. So a Blackboard organization site was really, really helpful and instrumental. And just another experience over the 4 semesters was the kind of change in faculty attitudes. And I'll talk a little bit more about it on the next slide, but just in general, I saw questions change. People at first were just very frantic about how to use Blackboard. How can I put up a quiz? How can I use Blackboard Collaborate? And over the 4 semesters, those questions started changing to, how can I have more engagement with my students? How can I have a lively synchronous session? How can I have my course online be different from just that face-to-face course that's now online? I don't want to lecture for 2 or 3 hours on Blackboard Collaborate or Zoom. What can I do to make it more interactive? So people were really starting now to embrace this idea of teaching online in a different way from teaching face-to-face. Ready for the next slide? And just some typical questions and topics that came up during these sessions. By far, the biggest question was about how to navigate Blackboard. How can I set up my course in a way that's easy for students to navigate and for myself to navigate? Most of these questions centered around using the grade center for grading to get the final grade, and for all of the grading that can be done automatically. How do I set up a quiz? That was a really big question, because quizzes is not just putting your questions online. There are additional settings and options in terms of availability that's really important as well. And of course, with test integrity, how can I set this up in a way that is going to be safe, so that it minimizes something like cheating? Also setting up assignments, and then preparing for the next semester. How can I copy my course over? So those were the main Blackboard navigation questions that came up. And then in terms of organization and structure, how can I use Blackboard Collaborate in my course? There were a lot of questions about using breakout rooms to make the course more engaging, and Zoom with the same questions. And again, increasing engagement. And these kind of happened over the space of time. As faculty became more comfortable using Blackboard for their online courses, now they wanted to know more about engagement and kind of stepping it up a level. So that was a really great experience that I've had.
Okay, Natasha, are you ready for take some questions?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to say, I noticed people have been coming in. In fact, I admitted a couple of people. because they seem to be waiting. And I just want to apologize to people who are coming in and just seeing this now. But there was some confusion about the start times, and I know some of you may have had trouble getting in, so apologize about that. Any questions and or comments from those who are attending? Yeah, Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Broughton. I'm at Bronx Community College. I'm a biology faculty member, and I know Elise is on as well. She's one of the current mentors in our online course development program, and I was a previous mentor in that program. And we did something similar this past year. Last March, we mobilized a lot of the existing faculty who already taught online or had been trained to teach online and hybrid. And we created what we call department liaisons, who are kind of department-specific mentors. And then we had a multi-tier training system in the summer where we brought the main mentors, trained a whole bunch of our faculty who'd never taught online before. And then the department mentors, the department liaisons, did a second training with anybody we missed as part of our departments and had ongoing mentoring throughout the fall as well. I saw a similar problem with having open office hours. I think the themed office hours that were presented are fantastic. I tried something similar as well. And Carlos is on this too. So two of our existing mentors, Carlos and Elise, are both on this particular thing. So I just wanted to chime in. I fully support the mentoring model, and I think it works really, really well when you bring the experienced faculty in to help with the novice faculty.
Yeah, as I was saying in the beginning, for those of you who are coming in later, there are different mentoring models. And so we chose a specific one that was going to meet the needs, particularly as the needs that happened during the pandemic year. You could have another type of program depending on who the faculty are that are, who is being served. So, I think you really have to craft the program based on the kinds of communications and contacts that you think are going to be most helpful in for your particular online programs. And I'm particularly thinking about, going forward. So, for example, at CUNY SPS, the programs were originated as a way to help faculty who were new to online teaching have someone for an entire semester, to contact, to be in touch with after their initial training. And that's rather different than the mentoring program that we have established at Lehman, which is more a, kind of on-demand kind of thing. So maybe a faculty member only has a question, in once or twice, during the semester, or even maybe not every semester. But it has been a very valuable program for us. And I think that all mentoring programs, whether they're formal, semi-formal, structured, very unstructured, I think they can all be a really great part of supporting faculty. Natasha, do you have any comment about?
Yeah, I think that no matter the structure, and it sounds like the structure that was mentioned is very similar. I think one of the things that I just was not anticipating was the degree of shame. Is a very strong word, but it's the first word that comes to mind. There's a degree of shame that the first thing a faculty member would say to me, and without exception, was, "I'm so sorry, but can you help me with this?" And "I'm so sorry." Like, they're so sorry that they don't know what they don't know, but you've never been exposed to it before. You've never had to do it before. But there is this kind of sense of embarrassment.
Yeah.
And it's exactly, at least, this sense of embarrassment that they don't know how to use some technologies, or even, I know you showed me this already, but can you show me again? And I have to constantly reinforce, it's okay. It's not a problem. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help. you have nothing to be ashamed of. So with any of the models that we've discussed, just kind of helping to develop it into a safe type of environment where people don't feel ashamed and they feel open and free to ask questions. And that's why I talked about those themed office hours, because it was almost like a way of them getting to know you first before going and asking a question, especially like I intentionally talked about a lot of, well, I consider them basic, but very basic things that I thought most people were probably already familiar with, so that they can now jump in and ask questions, even if it was about some of these newer things. And then for other people who had more advanced questions to feel like, you know, okay, well, I have a more advanced question, to feel a little bit, you know, proud of that as well. So there is a little bit of, you know, protection and confidence that might be lacking in this area. So you want to be careful with whatever system you set up.
And that's why I do think that a peer system, and by peer, I don't mean they have exact, you know, it's not two people who don't know anything about what they're asking. It's, you know, one is more experienced, but not having a supervisor. And I have to say, over many years, because I've been doing, you know, faculty mentoring programs for a long, long time. And over the years, I often will get an administrator who will insist that that administrator is the best mentor. And why do we need peer mentors? And it's really tough to explain. People don't believe that faculty are embarrassed to ask questions, you know, related to online teaching and technology, but they are. And it's hard to sometimes to get administrators to really understand that it is that way. And I would particularly say, I think, especially adjunct faculty may be particularly sensitive about asking questions that give people the impression that they don't know what they're doing. And I mean, some of the questions really don't show that, you know, demonstrate that they don't know what they're doing, but in their minds, you know, the faculty will feel like it's going to create that impression. So that's the power of having a peer there to assist you, and someone you can talk frankly with, without any, you know, concern. And it helps you so much get past that feeling of embarrassment. Any other questions in the chat there?
I think Elise had a question. Elise Guadadaria.
Go ahead.
You never find that unmute button, but I found it. So I just have two questions. First of all, about compensation. Are your department level mentors compensated with a stipend or reassigned time, or are they just saintly people who volunteer?
No, they are paid for 25 hours for the semester.
Thank you.
So that's one of the things with the logs. They have to keep a log. One reason is also to make sure they don't go over those hours. And that's why we also say, please refer people. So, you know, if you see that somebody really needs more extended help, like somebody who's maybe really just doesn't know Blackboard, doesn't know Zoom, you know, really needs more extensive help, we try to get the faculty mentors to refer those to the staff in the Office of Online Education.
Okay, that's I love that idea of having you call them mentors, we call them liaisons, whatever, keeping a log, because that's a step that we missed. And my other question has to do with going forward. We've had lots of people that did that down and dirty over the summer, learn how to be an online instructor instantaneously. And now we're in a position where what are you planning on doing? How are you going to follow up with additional training and dealing with if we all go hybrid in the fall? And that's something I don't know. I'm
going to kick this answer over to Olena, who's just waiting there. Count on this.
Thank you. And I'll try to be brief because we have a minute. So I am really grateful that Susan really championed this mentoring program, and our amazing mentors, just like Natasha, you know, it's like our stars at Lehman College that we could heavily rely on during this difficult time. So in terms of going forward, I think what we try to do and really think strategically, and Susan brings lots of expertise. We are also asking for mentors for their input. But essentially what we have is we have to be really intentional about the various supports we put in place. So we do have a 2-week intense faculty development workshop where we really focus on preparing faculty to teach asynchronously primarily. We also have put into place additional training specifically for synchronous teaching. As you know, during remote learning, it's a bit of a different approach in terms of how one can quickly shift to teaching online without completely redesigning. So we're really intentional in terms of separating. My goal, has been, and we have worked really hard in the Office of Online to work with our president, provost, and get their support as well as financial support and commitment to continue supporting the mentoring program. So they have supported this program. This semester, this program is supported. We'll put the request forward in the future years. So our expectation is that we want to continue having this mentoring program going forward, indefinitely post-COVID. But of course, I know that you've done that, Elise, as well, in terms of, we were talking about having faculty fellows, right? So essentially, maybe we would have a bit of a different description for what faculty mentors and then maybe faculty fellows would do in terms of their contribution and the various types of programming. I'll also note that, for example, Natasha Nurse also facilitates our 2-week workshop. So we are recruiting her in a different capacity because she's so amazing. I think it's extremely important to have faculty lead and drive and be very engaged in these initiatives. And at the same time, I think they need to be rewarded. So I think one of the things we've tried to do is make sure that when we ask faculty to do something extra and rely on their expertise, that that's recognized in one or form or another.
Yeah. And just lastly, I saw Carlos had a question in the chat about any resistance with respect to academic freedom. And I don't think I've come across anything like that, but Susan can speak to that as well.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, the beauty of having peer mentors is that they're there to support the faculty, and they're not carrying out, their main purpose is not carrying out policy. So, they can have very frank discussions. And if a policy issue comes up, they would, they would refer that person, to the chair. So no, we want the, in general, I would just say a principle of faculty development is that you want to try to be as much of an intermediary as possible. And yes, of course, you're going to be talking about things that are policy related, but you're not the enforcer of policies. And you want to be open to faculty ideas and styles and different ways of approaching teaching and learning. Do we have time for any more questions, or are we run out of time?
No, I think we've run out of time. Yeah.
Okay. I'm totally confused about the timing right now, but okay. So this is just a contact page for those of you who don't know us. You're welcome to contact us directly via emails, or also visit our faculty mentoring page on Lehman. Thank you so much. And again, I'm really sorry for people who came in late if any of this has been confusing. And this was recorded, in my understanding.
Yes.
Is the recording going to be available to the participants?
Yes, yes, I can make it available.
Okay, so those of you who missed, you'll be able to get the recording, I assume. And also you're welcome to contact me if you just want slides. We're fine to do that as well. Or if you have a question because you came in the middle and you weren't sure what the heck we were talking about. So thank you so much. And I want to thank Natasha for joining me with this presentation. And Olena as well for hooverting us around.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much.